Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jasmine, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet a basic headband. I hope you enjoy this project, and I can't wait to see what you make. First, you'll need your crochet hook. This is the one I'm using today. On your crochet hook, on the handle, typically there is a letter size and a size in millimeter. This is how you're going to know what size crochet hook you're using. I don't know if you can see, mine is a size I, 5.5 millimeters. I'm using this because this is what I had today. So crochet hook, a pair of scissors. Any scissors are fine, you don't need special ones. Yarn needles or tapestry needles. I'm not brand specific, but I want to show you guys that they usually come packaged like this in a pack of 2. They come in different sizes. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure that the opening here on the needle is big enough for whatever yarn you're using. And then lastly, you're going to need some yarn. I kept the label on so I could show you guys. Yarn has a little size on it right there. Today we're going to be using medium or worsted weight yarn. It also has a hook recommendation size on there. We are not using this size hook, but if you ever are at the store and you see some yarn that you like and you want to make something with it, this is a good kind of starting point to find out what size hook you need to use for whatever project you're going to be working on. Down the road, when you're more advanced, you'll be able to make those decisions yourself about like, what kind of project am I doing and what size hook is going to be appropriate for it. Yarn labels also have the type of yarn. So the yarn that I'm using today is acrylic. It also has how much weight and how much length is in the yarn. So this is good for further down the road when you're making big projects and you want to know how many balls of yarn you're going to need. And then it also has these symbols that are care instructions. So each yarn is going to be different and it's going to tell you what temperature you can wash it at, you can't iron it, those types of things. So all these symbols are washing instructions for your finished object. We're going to start by tying a loose knot. The reason you want this loose is because we're going to put our crochet hook through it. So you don't want it to start out too tight. You tie a knot and make sure that your crochet hook is through the circle in the middle of the knot. You have your tail end, this long one. All right, this is our yarn that's coming from the yarn ball. And here's our little tail off at the end. So I have my hook. It's through my little knot here. I'm holding it in my right hand and my left hand is going to be feeding the yarn. I hold the tail with my left hand just for some support. If it's easier for you to hold it in your right hand, if it's easier for you to just kind of let it hang, or if it's easier for you to hold onto the knot, try any of those. But the first step that we're going to do a chain. And what you do for a chain, we're building the foundation of what we're going to crochet upon. So we're going to put our yarn over our hook, and then we are going to use our hook to pull that loop through the knot. Okay, and then what's left over is this little V right here. You can see that V right there, and that's our first chain. And we're going to keep chaining until we get to the width that we want our headband to be. So again, we're going to yarn over. So we've got our yarn hanging over right here. We've got our previous chain on our hook, yarn over, and then we're going to let our hook pull it through. And now we've got 2 little V's. And again, yarn over, and then pull it through. Yarn over, pull it through. And you're just going to keep doing this until it's about as wide as you want your headband to be. So we've got a nice little chain there. You can see all your V's, all those little V's going down. I think I'm going to make this a little bit wider. It's a little bit cold where I live right now, so I want something to cover my ears. All right, So that's what I'm starting with. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 chains, it looks like. All right, and so now we're going to start building on top of our chains. The stitch that we're going to be using is called a single crochet. This is the basic, just kind of starter stitch. And we're going to work from the right side across to the left side. So we're going to start with the single crochet. We're going to skip this first chain off the hook. So I'm going to take my hook out real quick so you guys can see. We have our little loop here that our hook is through. And then we have the first V, that's the first chain, and then the second chain. Okay. Because we're doing a single crochet is 1 stitch tall. So we're going to skip this first stitch, and by skipping this first stitch, we help build the height. Okay. The other reason why we skip our first stitch is because if we came in here and we yarned over and pulled through, we would undo this loop. It wouldn't stay because it's also going through that first stitch. So in order to help it not unravel, we need to start in the second stitch. We have our little V's right here, and we're going to put our hook under the top of the V. Okay, so we've put it through, right? We've got two little loops on our hook right now. Okay, again, there's our first V, there's our second V. We're going to go under the top of that first V. And then we're going to take our extra yarn here. We're going to yarn over our hook. So now you see we've got 3 loops on our hook. And just like before, we're going to pull that yarn over through our loop, just like with the chain. But we're only pulling it through the first part of the V, the first V. Okay, so now we have 2 loops. And we're going to yarn over again. And now we pull through both. Okay, and that's our first single crochet. So as you can see, the stitch is right there. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's our first stitch. We're going to continue doing single crochets across our whole length until we get to the end. Put my hook back in. And let's do it again. So here, that's where our previous stitch was done. So we're going to go into the next V. We're going to insert our hook through the V. And we've got 2 loops on there again. We're going to yarn over. So now we've got 3. And we pull it through the first V. Okay. Now we have 2 loops, and again we're going to yarn over and gently pull through both loops again. And there is our second single crochet. So 1 right there and 1 right there. And you can see, take my hook out again, so you can see the V's starting again on the top. So we're always going to be working in those V's. All right, and next one, there's the V that we're going to be working into right there. We're going to insert our hook. There we've got our 2 stitches, our 2 loops. We're going to yarn over, pull it through the first one, yarn over, and pull it through both. Insert into the V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Okay. You can see I have 4 single crochets right there. You can see the little V's on top. So I'm just going to continue this until we get to the end. So insert, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through. You can see, because I've been doing this for a while, that I just end up doing most of the motions with my hook. And then my left hand doesn't really move much at all. But when you're beginning, you can still use your other hand for support. And yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So we have our length of single crochets. Because we're at the end now, just like before, we need to build that height. So we're going to do 1 chain right here. And that's the same as before when we skipped that chain at the beginning. We're doing the same thing. We're building that height so that our project can grow this way. We want to build tall. Here is my single crochet from last time. Okay, and so we are going to do our first crochet into our last stitch from last time. So if we flip it back over, you can see there's our last stitch. We're going to crochet back into that one. That's going to be our first one. Now this time we're going to go under both V's. So you see we have our V's across here. We're going to put our hook under both of them. Okay, just going to show you real quick. If we put our hook under both, you get a pretty big gap under there. Okay, so it's pretty easy to get underneath of there. Same as before, we have our extra yarn, we have our hook on our loop. We're going to put our hook under the V's. It looks like 2 loops here, but we're just going to treat it as if it's 1 because it's 1 stitch. So just pretend that it's 1. We're going to yarn over our hook. So we've got 1, pretend 1, and our other 1. So 3 loops. Pull our yarn through. And again, we've got 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over again and pull through. Same thing here. Through the next V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. V, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. So if you see, if we lay this flat again, we've got our row from before, and we're starting to build height and work on that second row. So we're going to continue crocheting across. And then again, we're going to chain 1 to build up the height and then come back. And we're just going to continue that process until your headband is as long as you like. So I've been working on this for a while now, and I've got this nice length here. Here's my loop that my hook would go through. And just one last time, we're gonna measure it and just make sure it fits around my head. I like to keep, you can see it, the seams are lining up right there. I like to keep my headband on the tighter side because as you wear it, the yarn is naturally going to relax and loosen, and so it's going to end up a little bit looser the more you wear it. Make it as long as you prefer for your size preference. If you think that you're likely to wear your hair up in a bun with this, try putting your hair up and then put the length of crocheted yarn around your head and see if it fits okay with your bun or whatever. Now that we're done, we have a couple of different finishing options. So first of all, what we're going to do is we have our loop that our hook was through and that tail. And so what we're going to do is loop, tail, pull the tail through and tighten it, and also pull some out. Then we're going to use our scissors and just cut a long length. We're going to use this last tail to sew everything together. So we want it to be really long. We're going to sew the ends like that together. And so if you're wanting your headband to just be plain like that, then you're just going to sew straight across as is. And then if you want, you can leave it plain, or you can do some decorating. You could glue some pom-poms on here with fabric glue. If you wanted like some faux flowers, you could glue some faux flowers on there. You can make a yarn pom-pom and sew it on. Make a couple of yarn pom-poms, sew them on. You have lots of different options. You could just give it one twist before you sew the ends together. So we have our yarn here, and we're just going to give it one twist. And then we would sew our ends together per usual. But now you've got this cute little twist. So you'd have something like that with a little twist in the front. So we have our headband. You can pinch this center part and use some of our yarn again and just, wrap it around so it's pinched a little bit like that. I'm gonna have yarn pieces dangling everywhere, but just like a little pinched headband look. If you were into a bow look, you could crochet just like we did with the headband, but make a smaller length, same width or similar width, but smaller length of fabric. And if you close it together, you sew the ends and pinch it together, you get a bow And you could sew that bow on top of your headband. So you'd have a nice little bow on your headband and just make it whatever size. Really, once you've gotten this down, it's really, you know, whatever your creativity wants to do. You have lots of different art options, lots of abilities to customize it, to make it your own. Even what would be really cute is like running some ribbon through either side and make like a border. That would be really cute. Or some different colored yarn, or even, oh, like some pieces of like lace just woven through the stitches all the way down. I'm going to take my pieces of fabric, of crocheted fabric, and just offset them a little bit. So we've got some overhang on either side, and then wrap them. So we're gonna wrap this one under and wrap this one over. And there's our little tail from earlier. So we've got our headband, and there's a little sandwich. So you can see there's one piece right up here, and then the other piece right here. And then I'm going to whip stitch through all of these. Grab my yarn needle here, yarn needle, and we're going to connect it and to put it through. And then we're just gonna do a little like whip stitch in and out through the end here. So I've got this, and I'm just going to go in and out. I'm trying to keep it as close to the end stitches as possible, but you know, it doesn't matter so much for the look I'm going for. But I'm just sewing through. Okay. Now I've made it all the way through. I'll probably go through one more time, but I just want to show you guys what this looks like. Once you're finished sewing, you'll take your old tail from before. If you want, you can weave it in, and then tie them off, tie little knots, and then just use your scissors to clip them close so they're hiding. But I've got my little sandwich here, and I'm just gonna open the headband up, and I have this nice little knot in the front, kind of like if I had twisted it, but it's sewed, so you don't have that missing seam there. So when we're all done, we have something that looks like this. It's kind of a cute little headband here. Again, I made mine a little bit thicker because it's cold where I live right now, and I wanted something to cover my ears, but you can definitely do something, you know, half as thin or even smaller if you just want something to, you know, accent your hair versus, you know, something more utilitarian like I did, something a little warmer. I have these little cork labels, and you can sew one of those on. Craft stores have them. They say like handmade with love and stuff like that. Mine are obviously custom with my brand on there, but you can just sew them on for a nice little finishing touch on your headband before you wear it out and about. So yeah, that is a beginner crocheted headband. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you need help with anything, or just send me pictures of your finished headbands. I would love to see them, and you know, hopefully you can build upon this and make some more things. You know, now that you've got this like long strip, you know how to make that. You could easily make a scarf, or, you know, down the road, a hat. I will probably make a video on how to do a hat after this, because once you've got this, it's easy enough to do a hat. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again.